Tornadoes, nature's rotating fury. Tornadoes are the atmosphere's most violent exclamation point. They form when towering thunderstorms, called supercells, twist into colossal engines of wind and instability. Unlike hurricanes or earthquakes that spread their power across wide regions, tornadoes condense their destruction into narrow corridors of unimaginable intensity. They are nature's scalpel, small in area, but capable of cutting deep scars across the land. One street may be reduced to rubble, while the next is untouched, leaving behind an almost surgical pattern of chaos. For survivors, that contrast adds to the horror, randomness mixed with overwhelming force. But to truly understand their power, we must look at wind speeds, the physics behind them, their size and longevity, and their human impact. Measuring tornado power. The Enhanced Fujita Scale. The Enhanced Fujita (EF) scale is how scientists measure tornado strength using damage as the yardstick. It paints a chilling picture of escalation. EF 0, 65 to 85 F. Outbuildings unroofed, small trees toppled, trampolines and cars shoved around. EF 1, 86 to 110 F. Mobile homes overturned, roofs ripped away, power poles snapped. For many neighborhoods, this is already catastrophic. EF2, 111 to 135 F. Well-built houses lose roofs, large trees uprooted, vehicles lifted from the ground. Survivors describe houses trembling as though alive. EF3, 136 to 165 F. Entire walls torn from homes. Heavy trucks tossed, shopping centers shredded, streets vanish beneath debris. EF4, 166 to 200 F. Strong houses leveled, cars hurled hundreds of yards, neighborhoods reduced to bare earth. Survivors compare it to bombs detonating. EF5, over 200 miles per hour. The unimaginable. Houses completely obliterated, concrete foundations scraped bare, steel beams twisted. In some cases, the landscape itself is scarred. The difference between EF categories may be only tens of miles per hour, but the leap in destruction is exponential. The strongest winds on Earth. Inside violent tornadoes, winds can exceed 300 miles per hour, the fastest ever recorded on Earth's surface. At these speeds, cars weighing over a ton become airborne missiles. Wooden beams pierce walls like arrows. Houses disintegrate in seconds, as though erased by a giant eraser. Unlike hurricanes, where wind speeds spread across hundreds of miles, tornadoes condense their energy into funnels sometimes no wider than a few hundred feet. This makes them uniquely destructive. A hurricane topples slowly, while a tornado strikes like a sledgehammer. Pressure drops and the vacuum effect. Tornadoes aren't just wind, they are also violent vacuums. Inside the funnel, pressure can drop more than 100 millibars compared to surrounding air. Imagine your ears popping on an airplane that magnified 100-fold in seconds. This sudden drop can make buildings explode outward as the higher pressure inside pushes against the weaker air outside. Survivors often describe the sensation as their ears bursting or the very air being sucked from their lungs. The pressure change doesn't kill, it's the chaos it adds to already extreme winds that compounds the devastation. Tornado size, from ropes to giants. Tornadoes vary dramatically in size. Rope tornadoes, slender, twisting funnels that look fragile but can shred buildings if they tighten their core winds. Cone tornadoes, wider, more stable shapes that many picture when they imagine a twister. Wedge tornadoes, massive, block-like monsters, wider than they are tall, sometimes over a mile across. These can engulf entire towns. The El Reno tornado of 2013 holds the record, 2.6 miles wide, dwarfing highways, fields, and storm chasers. Witnesses said it looked less like a funnel and more like the sky itself had dropped to the ground. Path length and longevity. Most tornadoes live short lives, minutes long, a few miles traveled, but some become marathon killers. The tri-state tornado of 1925 remains infamous. 219 miles on the ground, nearly 700 killed, entire towns obliterated. Survivors described the darkness so complete it felt like night at midday. In December 2021, the quad-state tornado ripped through Kentucky and surrounding states for over 165 miles, flattening communities just weeks before Christmas. A tornado's power isn't just measured by intensity, it's also its endurance. The longer it survives, the more towns, farms, and lives it intersects. Tornado energy compared to other disasters. Scientists estimate that a strong tornado releases as much energy as several Hiroshima-sized nuclear bombs. The difference is in distribution. Hurricanes unleash more energy overall, but spread it thin across hundreds of miles in days of time. Earthquakes release seismic power in waves underground, shaking entire regions. Tornadoes, however, compress their fury into a narrow track, sometimes less than a mile wide, striking with surgical brutality. It's this concentration that makes tornadoes feel more violent and personal than almost any other disaster. To greet, the deadly multiplier. Wind alone is terrifying, but tornadoes don't just fling air, they fling the world itself. Roof shingles, bricks, and lumber become high-speed projectiles. Farm equipment weighing thousands of pounds is tossed across fields. Straw has been found embedded into wooden posts and even concrete, driven with needle-like precision by winds over 200 miles per hour. The debris field is what kills most victims and shreds entire communities, turning familiar objects into weapons. The human experience of power, for survivors, describing a tornado often comes down to one word: indescribable. The sound is compared to a freight train, a jet engine, or even 1,000 roaring cannons. The air grows heavy, then eerily still before the roar arrives. Birds vanish, animals flee, and then chaos. Darkness envelops the sky, with lightning illuminating twisted debris spinning above. Some speak of houses trembling like living things, walls flexing before snapping apart. Others recall silence after the storm, so profound it felt as if the world itself had stopped breathing. This psychological terror is part of a tornado's power. It doesn't just break buildings, it breaks the sense of safety. Scientific tools for measuring power. Directly measuring tornado winds is nearly impossible. Few instruments survive the hit, but scientists have developed creative ways. Doppler on wheels, DOE radars measure wind speeds from a safe distance. Mobile probes, heavily armored pods placed in paths of tornadoes, record pressure drops, and wind speed until destroyed. Aerial and satellite surveys map destruction patterns, revealing hidden subvortices within larger tornadoes. Computer models recreate storms in stunning detail, showing how winds twist and amplify. Each advance brings us closer to truly quantifying the raw force of these storms. Extreme case studies. Several tornadoes stand as monuments to atmospheric violence. Moore, Oklahoma, 1999. Winds exceeded 300 miles per hour, destroying entire neighborhoods in minutes. Greensburg, Kansas, 2007. A nighttime EF5 destroyed 95% of the town. Survivors crawled out of basements to find their community erased. Joplin, Missouri, 2011. An EF5 killed 158 people, leveling schools, hospitals, and shopping districts. The aftermath resembled a war zone. Each event shows tornadoes at their most extreme, swift, surgical, and merciless. Tornadoes in the future. As climate patterns shift, scientists are asking hard questions. Are tornadoes becoming more frequent, more violent? While total numbers are hard to measure, evidence suggests more clusters of tornadoes and more outbreaks in the southeastern U.S., a region with dense populations, more forests, and fewer basements. That means tornadoes may grow deadlier not because they're stronger, but because they strike where communities are least prepared. Why tornado power matters. Understanding tornado power isn't academic, it saves lives. By studying their winds and destruction, engineers design stronger buildings, emergency managers improve shelters, and meteorologists refine warnings. The EF scale itself is a product of studying damage patterns, and every new tornado adds more data. Each scar on the land becomes a page in the atmospheric history book, teaching us how to protect future generations. The essence of tornado power. So, how powerful are tornadoes? They are powerful enough to scour towns from the earth, Powerful enough to fling 18-wheelers like toys. Powerful enough to erase communities in less time than it takes to drink a cup of coffee. They are the fastest winds on Earth, the most concentrated destructive storms in existence, and one of nature's most terrifying reminders of our fragility. Tornadoes are power incarnate, an atmospheric force compressed into a whirling column of chaos, reminding us that, in the end, we live at the mercy of the skies.